Hey all you dudes and dudettes out there, this is Val with another Dungeon Hunter Champions video. In today's video, we're going to talk about gear. Alright, so I've actually mentioned this about farming, but I've never really gone through and explained gear, how to use it, how to equip it. I mean, in my stream, I've talked about Mortal quite often. I've talked about not liking Adept because basically it's this game's violent. But let's really talk about gear and how to gear. So what's the first thing you need to know about gear and how to use it? Well, the first thing is you need to know the unit you're going to equip it to and what you want that unit to do. So let's take a look at Alia here. Alia is currently geared for Mortal Keen because I've gone from a vampire farmer build to a crit build. Now the reason why is speed. If you have a safe farmer like Alia where you know she is going to kill fast enough, you're not really worried about healing, then you don't need vampire. That is why I have her on Mortal. However, if you have a lower unit, say you're actually using the Water Spearman, then he might not be the best candidate to use Mortal as a farmer because he is going to need that sustainability, so you would want to use Vampire here. Well, let's take that a step further. We're assuming in this role that both of these are going to be used as a farmer. Now, in Alia's case, this build is completely viable for DPS as well. She does amazing DPS with this set, and I really never worry about her numbers at all. So because she's DPS and she's my farmer, this Mortal set works just fine. Now, the stage I farm is 6-1. This is done for me in about 22-21 seconds with this gear. That is just how efficient Alia is with this. But that is her current role, and the gear fits that role. Just like if we were using the Water Spearman, Vampire would fit here because he is going to need that additional sustainability given that he kills a lot slower than Alia does. So let's take a look at another unit. Now this one I have kind of as a hybrid tank. Now I have her on Adept and Vital. Now something very important, you're going to see here that, you know, these are two sets. These are two sets. Now, you actually don't need sets. What it all comes down to is this first stat sheet here. If you are meeting your goals here, regardless of what you have here, and that's including a totally broken set, meaning that you're not using any set. You got a piece here of this, a piece of this. You know, you're all over the map. But if you get your stats in the end, this is what matters. Now, this is something I've been trying to tell myself because I'm going to have to say this is a do what I say, not what I do, because I have a very hard time using broken. It's just how I am. I've been that way since Summoner's War. So I always just farm, just crazy farm to try to get the exact sets I want with the stats. But in the end, guys, if it's driving you crazy and you've got pieces you can use, but it's going to be on broken, as long as you meet your numbers here, nothing else matters. Okay, now with that being said, let's hop back to her. I have her kind of as a hybrid tank. So if you take a look, I've got HP, HP, HP. And that is because one of her skills scales with HP. It's actually a shield, and if the shield's up, it does a few cool things. So I want to make sure her shield is always up. But if you look at this gear, another viable choice based on that could be Vital all the way through. Now, I did have a stat goal of a minimum of 50K with her. That was the minimum that I would settle for. And I actually ended up getting 67K. So again, it came back to the stats. And I still have room to grow because I haven't plus 15 this. I've been pretty broke lately going through my gear. So let's keep going. Now, this doesn't have to be this. For instance, if I had a vampire piece that I thought would really work here and still give me my stats. Of course, in my case, I would use 4 pieces of vampire because I'm not a big fan of broken. But if it gave me the stats I need, this would be perfectly viable. Don't get so hung up on the sets. Concentrate more on the stats. Because again, stats are greater than set. Again, I know I don't do it. I'm fully aware of that. Anyone who's seen my stream knows I preach a good game when it comes to this, but I don't actually do it. But I'm getting better. I am getting better. Now, this 434 attack is because I went for gear with attack substats. As you can see, I've got 14% here, and I got some max HP. Now, let's talk about substats, right? So, for substats, you actually want to make sure it stays in line with your theme. Now, because we're focusing on this particular skill that uses HP, I wanted max HP. Also, because I wanted her to do some damage, I actually focused on subs with attack. So you'll see the theme throughout here is going to be max HP, as you can see here, and attack. Now, I also needed accuracy, so you'll see some pieces that have accuracy as well. Again, I didn't heavily focus on attack. I just wanted to make sure she had some. All right, so that's the important thing. So you've picked your set. You said, okay, Val, I'm going to go broken. This looks good. Then you need to look at your substats to say, does my substats contribute to my overall goal? Because even if you go with the set, say you go with Vital, and you have, let's say, Water AA, Zeveron, and you want to make them very tanky. Well, you get Vital pieces, and you get like your shoulders, they have HP percent, your gloves have HP percent, your bracers have HP percent. But then you look at your subs, and you've got resistance, move speed, crit damage. Or you go here and you look, you got defense, flat attack, flat defense, resistance. You know, you look at all that. Yes, you have these slots correct, but you're missing out on your substats. Your substats, honestly, are a bigger game than your main stats. Your main stat's going to be easy. And the fact that once you get it, you don't have to worry about it. All your rolls always are going to go into your main stat. You never have to worry about it. But your subs are hit and miss. Like in this one, you can see we rolled into accuracy, which is what I want. Luckily, we didn't roll into flat attack, thank goodness. Well, I think we went once into flat attack, actually. But we got 2 into accuracy, which is good because it's what I needed. But now, had this rolled into attack, then this would have been, like all of them, or even another one, this would not have been a good piece and would need to be sold. So make sure when you're looking at either you're going broken or you're going set, that you are looking at your substats. A good thing to do is to get these blue pieces. Now, I know you're saying, blue, oh, you only got 2 choices, but when you're trying to be gearing in the beginning, you have a 50-50 chance that it's going to go into the stat that you want. So let's take a look at this one. This one is a win-win if you're gearing someone that you want to have a good amount of HP as well as attack. So you can go, all right, I do want max HP percent. So when you roll, we'll go ahead and go through and see what we get. Because I actually think I am going to use this on a, there we go. So we can say, well, we got max HP. Well, my second roll, if it goes in that, it's going to be pretty decent. Or if it goes into this, it's going to be okay because it has both of the stats that I wanted. And that's the thing about max HP flat. It will scale very well with all your max HP slots here. So again, this is just more to keep in mind when you're rolling through. Don't be afraid of blues. I personally am not afraid of blues. Like this one, if this goes both into crit rate, then this would be a really good piece of gear to have. Now, obviously, if you have a epic or you have a legendary, you have more chances to go, more chances that it's going to go into the skill you don't want, but you have more attempts at it. And if all 4 go into the skill you want, you're going to have an exceptional or godlike piece of equipment, depending on what the other subs are. Now, in this case, let's say we wanted accuracy, and we got all 4 in accuracy. This still would not be considered a god tier piece of gear because we've got flat attack, we've got move speed, and we got resistance. So if even that happening wouldn't qualify. You take a look at this. This one's almost closer, but now we do have max HP. We've got attack, but then we've got move speed and we got defense. This would also not be god tier if it went all into max HP, if that's what you're going for, or all into attack. In this particular one, when I'm ready to roll it, I'm hoping they all go into attack percent. Also, because this is crit damage, I would assume I'm making a crit build. So then I would really want this flat defense or this move speed to be crit rate, and then another to be crit damage. Excuse me. I would want this to be crit rate and not either defense or move speed. And then that would actually make this a really good piece of gear. But if all of them go into attack, it's still going to be great. It's just not going to be godlike. Again, keep in mind, this is still focusing on the numbers you have here. So you might ask yourself, well, what are your numbers? So for me, you take a look at my Alia. Because I am a huge fan of Mortal right now in this stage of the meta, I really would like to rune everyone Mortal, but I'm running out of runes. For her, I want it at minimum 30k HP. Like, I mean, base minimum. And that's like pushing it. Because the reason why I said that is I have horrible time getting subs with max HP percent or flat HP. I wanted at least 900 defense. I wanted 100% crit, but I made some changes that gave her a huge boost to attack. So I didn't get to 100%. I am at 94. With guild bonus, I'm at 98. I'm always looking for that last 2%. I wanted attack. Now, her attack speed, I had to make some concessions on. So Blade Masters need a lot of attack speed. On her Vampire build, I had her with a lot, but I gained a lot of crit damage by sacrificing this. So I went ahead and I made that trade-off. I know that's not an exact answer, but you have to really look at what you want to do and what role that champion is going to fit in your team. Then once you do that, you can come into your gear and say, what gear do I have that helps this champion meet that role in a team? Don't simply look at Zevran and go, okay, everyone builds him tanky, I'm going to build him tanky as well. You have to ask yourself, why are you being tanky, and will he work that way in your current team build? Because Zevran can be a one-man army, but he's even better if you put him in a team where he fulfills a specific role. And that's true with any unit. Now, some units can even be multi-purpose. You take a look at Manus, quite possibly the best non-Nat 5 Nat 5. He is. I mean, he's just amazing. He is just amazing. He can heal. He brings incredible buffs. He can buff block, which is just great now in SW10. So he has a multi-function. So when you look at a unit like him, you have to say, okay, what do I want him to excel at? In my case, I decided to go attack. I want attack, attack, and accuracy, because I wanted him to do damage. Now, there may be some people out there that says, hey, Val, I know he can be a great attack unit, but I put all my attack runes with great attack subs, crit rate, all that good stuff on my Alia, and I built him tanky so that way he can just live to debuff. And that's great. That works because that is the role Manus fits. And you already had a very good DPS in the form of a Blade Master. So it made sense that you would dump all your good attack gear on your Blade Master and then follow up by making your Manus a support. Now, advanced level would be, okay, now that I've got her settled, let me start gearing my Manus for attack. Then you would start looking at subs and stats that best fit, making him an all-around awesome guy. So maybe here you'd go attack with HP, accuracy, crit rate, and attack speed subs like I have here, because this really fits the role. You have HP for survivability, you have accuracy to make sure his buffs, debuffs land, you have crit rate to improve your crit rate, and you have attack speed. So this works. If you can get all your pieces like this, then you would have a dual purpose Manus. And again, it doesn't matter what set you use to get those numbers. All that matters is that you get these numbers. In the end, this is it, guys. Even though you look at my team, you can see I don't have broken anywhere. Not one place. But it's all about the numbers. So here, we'll take a look. This is my tank. I built him 100% tanky on sturdy, which was their actual recommendation. I went defense, and then max HP. The reason why I went HP is because if you take a look here, I already met my stat goals for him. I want it at minimum 45k HP. I couldn't get that with defense. So that last slot there on the bracer, I picked up max HP. Now you got to consider these stats aren't even his final because I still haven't went to plus 15 on these 3 pieces. So he's going to get even better. But he's built this way because he has one specific purpose, and that is to be a tank. So I need him to live. So regardless that I went sturdy, this was still the best option that provided me the best stats here. So if this had ended up being resistance all the way through, or resistance, sturdy, as long as I got the same thing here, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter at all. because you've got to get the stats. And when you're looking at gear farming, when you're doing things like that, that is primarily what you are focused on, stats. Make sure when you're gearing, you're looking at substats. Don't invest too much in a piece of gear that won't meet your needs. So let me find a really crappy piece of gear. Okay, here we go. So let's say you're new, you're starting out, you want move speed because you saw Claytano's video and you felt, oh man, I really like how move speed works in PvP. This is what I got to work with. Now, to make this even close to viable, say you needed that little bit of crit, then you would want to roll all your rolls to go into crit. So let's do it as kind of a little sim here. We're not going to keep this, we're going to toss it. So, okay, one went into, you're done. At that point, this is garbage. It was a wasted roll. You can't make up enough crit for this 4-star piece to be worth it. So you would just come out and not that piece. Gotta be careful here. I've actually sold the wrong piece quite a few times. Where'd it go? It's gonna be at the top because I rolled into it. There it is. So you want to just sell it and then move on to the next piece. Don't invest too heavily into a piece that doesn't go your way. Now that doesn't mean every piece should end up being that. For instance, if you're rolling into this one, this has some pretty good subs for attack, but it's flat stat. Wow, this is dumb. Don't keep flats. This is dumb. I must have been in a hurry or just don't do this. Just don't. Instant sell. We're not even going to worry about it. Okay, here we go. So this one has decent subs. I mean, it's got 12 to flat attack, but it's got accuracy and attack. So this is pretty good. You could say, oh, you know, this could be for my Alia because you need attack speed, you need attack. Accuracy is good because she does have debuffs, but it's not a requirement. So you could say, all right, let's see if I can get my rolls into attack percent. Now, here's the thing. You have 2 good chances and you have 3 1-ups here. We'll just call it 1-up. There you go. Your first one goes in attack. You say, oh man, this is awesome. This is great. Excuse me. You say, this is awesome. This is great. I love it. So we get our next roll. Okay, we go into accuracy. These are still 2 of the viable stats. You're like, this is awesome. I love it. So let's take it to +9. Hopefully it won't bankrupt me because you can see I am pretty poor. My +9 luck is decent. Decent, not great, but decent. Come on, let's go attack. Let's go 2 attack, 1 accuracy. That'd be awesome. All right, so now this is still a great piece of gear because we completely avoided our problem child of flat attack here. And we picked up 15% accuracy. And now you can say, maybe this would work on my Snake Lady. Now, I know the rumor going around, I haven't read if it's been verified or not that attack speed improves Snake Lady DPS. I'm not sure. But I already have one on attack speed, and I wish I had tested it more so I could tell you the damage difference before I switched her. This was a ways back I built her. But anyway, so you can now say, oh, I can use this on my Snake Lady. I've got attack, I've got accuracy. Now on a Snake Lady, most people wouldn't use attack. I use attack on my water one, and she actually sometimes will exceed the damage my level 60 Monis does in SW10, and she's only 50. So there is value in attack on Snake Lady. So I would definitely use this on a Snake Lady if I were so inclined. But that's how you look at gear. That's how you look at, am I going to keep this? Am I going to use this set? Now, we can actually, let's go through and we'll talk about the set. So Vital, obviously, if you're building something tanky, Vital is a good go-to, but don't lock yourself into Vital. If you notice that you have a precise set that's HP, 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 and has great substats for what you're trying to do, don't worry about focusing on Vital. Go ahead and go precise. Brutal. Brutal is going to increase attack damage. Now, here's a good thing about attack damage. Attack damage actually will increase damage for units that aren't attack scaling. It contributes to it. So units that do damage based on max HP, like some of the scan warlords do, I apologize, I don't remember their names, but some of them do damage based on that. This will still help them. Rapid, of course, is attack speed. Keen is going to be crit. Precise is going to be accuracy. Now, again, if you, with the 2 sets and the 4 sets even, if one set has better stats for the unit and the role you want that unit to be, use the other set. Don't get focused. Well, I'm building a crit build, I have to use Keen. No, not at all. Because if Precise gives you the crit rate you want, definitely go Precise. Yeah, you'll have an extra wasted 20% accuracy, but who cares, because you met your other stat. And most all units in this game have some type of debuff, so to help them land that debuff, 0.1% better, right? So, and I always say something is better than nothing, right? No matter how small of an increase, it's always better. All right, Mortal. This is my current favorite. You can honestly build everyone Mortal. Just like you could build everyone Adept, I believe you could build everyone Mortal and just have an awesome team. Like, I really, really like Mortal. I love the damage increase. The only unit I've ever used it on where I was underwhelmed was Blueberry. And that might have been my build. I'm going to revisit her because I'm not entirely happy with how her review went out. Sturdy, as we've already talked about, which my tank's on. Warding is resistance. Dazzling is stuns, which is really PvP focused. Vampire is going to be sustainability because you heal as you do damage. And then Adapt is cooldown reduction. Adept is very popular on pretty much everyone, but I would say Adept is a requirement on any support unit, period. Like, if it's a support unit, none of this other stuff is viable, even based off stats, because the cooldown reduction is just meta. It is the meta. So you want to have your supports on this. You're kind of locked into it when it comes to support. Just make sure when you're building your units Adept that you're still paying attention to the substats and you're still having the appropriate percentages in the right slot. So for instance, if you're building a Naga, because Nagas do need some accuracy, I would probably go, if you can't get accuracy in substats, that is, I would probably go accuracy here, HP, HP. Now, if you can get HP in subs, then I would go HP, defense, accuracy. But see, again, it comes back to what you get and how your substats roll out. So just make sure you consider everything. Don't just look at the set. Look at what stats you want. Come up with a number in your mind that says, you know what, I think I'm going to need 100% crit here, 120% crit damage, and 100% accuracy. That's the numbers you want. Then you come back in here and say, how do I get to that goal based off the current gear I have? And don't settle. I'll say that is the worst thing you can do. So for instance, if you know you want to go crit damage, but you're like, oh man, look at flat attack, flat defense, and then you roll this, and as you can see, my rolls went into defense and defense only, it looks like. So this is terrible. Unless this 8% is going to make or break you, I would sell this immediately. This one was meant to be sold. I think I was using it on another unit because it was a crit damage issue. But again, do as I say, not as I do. Because this just really isn't a great... These are 2 wasted slots here that you can get something much better. And at least for me, crit damage and crit rate gloves drop constantly. Constantly. So there really was no reason for me to do this. I think what happened is I was getting really thin on Mortal and Keen. So I just went with this as a temporary placeholder. That's why it's only +9. But really, guys, that's gear. So just to recap, to like review and say where we are, what we learned from Val today. First thing is determine the champion and the role that champion is going to play in the group you're going to stick it in. Once you know that, come up with substats or stats that you want for that unit, be it if it's a tank, if it's going to be tanky, if it's going to be defensive, if it's going to be a crit build. And when I say crit build, I am referring to crit damage. So if it's going to be a crit build, is it going to need accuracy? Get your numbers and say, okay, I want 90% accuracy. I want 90% crit rate because I'm going to get some from my guild, and then whatever unit you're using has a buff, so you don't need 100%. Then say, because I am going crit, I want like 150% bonus crit damage. Then go back in here, get it. So you've determined stats. Next, go look at gear. Judge gear by main stat and substats. Remember that. You want to pay attention to substats. If you have to gamble in a piece like this where it's like, wow, this is really good, but I do need both attacks, both to go into attack, This went to accuracy, so while this is good, it's not the right piece for this unit. Then move on to the next. It might work out to where this would be the one you have to use temporarily, but at least it's not totally junky because you are gaining one of the stats that you want. As long as you're gaining a good bonus to the stat you want, it's okay to use something like this. I would say it's never okay to use something with 2 flat stats, especially flat. I mean, unless it's one of them's flat HP, then I mean, it's just typically it's not worth it unless you're new. If you're new and starting out and you're trying to get that adept set on your supports just to get you going, then it's definitely worth it. But always keep an eye to replace those gear slots that are just subpar, that you deal with just until you get better. But that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope I helped you a little bit with understanding how to gear and substats and the different role of the sets. As always, if you found the video helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. All you dudes and dudettes out there, stay frosty.